Hello, everyone. Notice we're on the website for Welch's Foods. Perhaps you've had some of their products. Um, Mostly for grape products, specifically uh, Concord grapes. So their story is that this is a family grown, farmer owned cooperative, so that all the profits go back to the small farmers that grow the grapes on this. So they control that, uh, supply, and they are proud of their supply chain, that they use ethical treatment and uh, make sure that all of their suppliers and business partners, with all the rules and regulations as stated on this. This is some of the products that they produce. It's a fairly small group of products, not a wide range. But the reason I want to highlight them is they have adopted a process of budgeting referred to as zero-based budgeting. And that is the idea that for many companies, you start, when you build your budget, your plan, you assume that you're going to spend basically what you spent the year before, and then you adjust from there. Welch's, and you can see that they're in a industry where there's a lot of competition in the food industry. If their prices are too high, people will just buy other products. It is not as if they have a patent on grapes or anything like that. So they have to be very conscious about their costs. And so they have adopted zero-based budgeting, which instead of assuming a certain cost for the new plan, you start with zero, meaning that our assumption is going into our plan for next year is that we're going to spend zero on accounting, zero on product development, zero on advertising, all of those things. And therefore, you have to justify each cost individually to build your budget. So, you don't just assume that it's going to be the same as last year plus 10% or some other process like that. And that's a very, while somewhat labor intensive, meaning that you have to justify all of your costs and make a plan for them. It is a very good way to analyze and say, do we really need to spend our money in these ways? And often is adopted by those companies who are particularly looking at keeping their costs low and being competitive. So Welch's, and remember, this is owned by 900 different farmers, so they have a very much in you might say inside view as to what the costs are. And so when they build that budget and they build it from zero, starting with we're going to spend zero unless we have a good reason to spend it, then you can see where that could take some doing. But once they have that, these are the people that would have insights into how to save and how to find ways to do it more efficiently. The zero-based budgeting is becoming more popular in the government area for cities and states to build their budget rather than simply rolling over from last year, assuming we're going to spend the same amount of money as we have every other year. We're going to say, okay, do we really need to spend that money? What is our purpose and what is our plan? And from that, we're going to build exactly what we need to spend to get the most bang for our buck. In the case of governments, for the taxpayers' dollars. So it's a kind of a tweak on the typical budget process but can be helpful, and maybe it doesn't need to be done every year. Perhaps it can be done every 4 or 5 years, in terms of making sure that there's nothing in our budget or in our plan that is not needed, and that we just rolled over and keep spending, even though we don't have a really good reason for doing that. So a little background on that aspect of budgeting from a real world company, and some new developments in terms of state and local governments.